Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, we're right into it. A drifting void ship from Dargonis, who knows what horrors lie in wait within. Well, actually, I do kind of remember this from Alpha, it turns out. But, you know, I'm curious to see what might have changed. Also, we'll try to make some different choices this time. I think I remember blowing this place up last time around. Ah, a pile of corpses. Always a good sign.
When rumors of Theodora von Valancius's appearance were spreading all over the ship, I saw many flashes of yellow. Your crew hoped it was true.
Lady Theodora was a complicated person, but her actions in the face of danger earned her the officer's deepest respect, and her intolerance of weakness earned her the undying adoration of the common laborers.
I don't know, Abby, I feel like you might be slightly biased there, but sure. Also, I can't help but notice we have some chatty mutants nearby. This person's body is covered in unpleasant-looking growths, scabs, and ulcers. They look like fresh mutations. Oh, hi guys. Yeah, I think we'll just, you know, nothing personal. I mean, look, Valen's pretty mutant tolerant, but the full naval corpse greeting at the entrance kind of started this off on the wrong foot. We'll have our fighters block off the stairs, get Yurliet on that one straggler. This should be pretty quick. Yeah, lots of low-tier baddies. Not seeing any major threats here. Task up first. Let's get past that going.
Request approved.
Nerf the Enforcer. Set zones. And clear the stairs. Nice. Always good to have a step-by-step process. Especially if you're trying to de-escalate.
If I may.
Oh, shoot. Okay, can't shout down the ledge, apparently. Fair enough, I guess. Just hold the stairs. Yeah, elevations are weird in this game. Though, I'm sure I've said it before, but still handles them better than Pathfinder did.
Chaos guides me.
Doom!
Yeah, Yurliet's got that one. Oh, no kills, but okay, DOTs will finish him.
I bring ruin.
You will die screaming!
Yeah, I'm still getting used to all the new balance shifts. They apparently changed quite a bit the last couple of major patches. So I'm just sort of feeling things out as I go. I mean, I read the highlights, but there's a lot of interlocking pieces, you know. Upper landing clear. Oh.
Crush the feeble.
Well, that is unfortunate.
I'll tear you limb from limb. I serve the ruinous powers.
Okay, hold on now.
Death to non-believers!
Hold on, that...
Beg for your life.
Hask should have been immune to both knockback and knockdown. That definitely didn't work the way it was supposed to. Also, why did the DOTs not trigger? Unless these guys are completely immune to poison damage, I suppose. Which they might be. I mean, they are warp mutants. It's fine. I mean, we're still going to win this. It's just... I am slightly perplexed as to why certain things played out the ways they did. Could be any number of new interactions I'm overlooking.
You are my next offering!
Alright, let's prop up Pask, finish off those guys with the DOTs. I mean, to be fair, despite the knockdown, Pask is still doing his job. He held them at the stairs.
Death to the weak!
Chaos.
2 out.
I am your doom.
And that's 2 more. Alright, let's wrap this up. Oh my. But the creature is inside out. And it exploded. Nice. Yeah, it really does feel like they tweaked a lot of the defense numbers on the back end. That'll definitely take some getting used to. Like with those turrets a couple of episodes back. Our exposed weakness must have been nerfed because it was almost completely useless against them. Though, you know, once we had like 30 stacks of tactical awareness going, kind of a moot point.
You should have thought twice before crossing me. I'll make it up.
And we're good. Better than good. We're great. Though, lightly dinged up. Let's get that patched.
My whispers crave entertainment.
Honestly, I think the poison gas was the only thing that did any actual damage to us. Alright, let's clear the room, then we'll figure out these level ups. The sweetish smell coming from the dead body seems odd, and the blood has an unusual hue to it. Yep, that's Lingonberry. The Cogitator's machine spirit stays silent in an attempt to reach the dead systems of the destroyed ship. Ooh, half a stack of holy gifts. That is lovely. We'll hold on to those. We have that new assassin rolling out in a few weeks, so I want to make sure we have a decent assortment of close combat weapons. I'm not sure exactly what they're keyed for. Dual chain axes would be pretty rad. Books and items of luxury. The legality of some of them is questionable, but the Navis nobilite often turns a blind eye to such diversions. Distraction Cape. Reduces nearby enemies' perception by fellowship bonus. And Staff of House Cassini. Grants infusing 7, plus 5 will, plus 10 perception. I mean, we don't really have her buff people all that often. Reveal the light on occasion, though I suppose now that I think about it, we've never really seen the Bloodhound staff trigger properly either. In theory, it's supposed to let us double up on the same ability twice around, but I don't think we've ever actually seen that happen. I think they always go into cooldown. I'll have to look into that. Because, like, if the Bloodhound staff doesn't work at all, then there's no reason not to switch to something else. Aside from maybe the innate stat bonuses, I suppose. Okay, room clear. One sec, let me just run through our level up stuff real quick, figure out what we're doing there. Hey, we're back. And yeah, it turns out that I was slightly off on what we actually get this level. I assumed we were getting our third advanced archetype ability, but that's actually out here. What we get this level is a modifier for the core special ability of our advanced archetype. In Valen's case, Dispatch, which I don't think I've ever actually used, but yeah, it's a high lethality single target strike. So, you know, we'll just lean into that, I guess. It's actually a pretty decent finishing strike. The real issue is just that, you know, I don't think to use it much because most of the advanced archetype abilities are honestly pretty tame. Speaking of which, we have 3 grand strats, so, you know, they all have some overlap there on an ability that we are unlikely to ever actually use. A modifier to Take and Hold, which, again, in theory, isn't necessarily a bad ability. It's just one that requires multiple steps to actually get use out of. And generally speaking, we're better off just curb stomping foes with normal, more conventional, straightforward abilities. That said, given the unique way that Grand Strat abilities do tend to overlap between multiple Grand Strategists, I am curious if we can just take a different modifier on each one of these characters, and then when any of them uses it, if all 3 of those bonuses will apply, given that that is kind of how the zone mechanics work, at least. If it does actually work like that, then maybe I will get some use out of it. That would give me more incentive. After that, we've got Yurliet, who gets a modifier for Wild Hunt. Again, an ability I never really use much. But it does seem to be one of the only ways we can actually recharge Hunt Down the Prey, which, ironically, is the main thing that limits our use of Wild Hunt. So, you know, sure, why not? We'll take it. And that brings us to Abby, who picks up a modifier for Unyielding Guard, which is essentially Counter-Strike stance on steroids. I could see it being very situationally useful, but in most cases I feel like the normal warrior ult is just better. But, you know, that said, given that Unyielding Guard is more defense-oriented, I figure we'll just lean into that. You know, much like we took the damage boost for Valen, a single-target striker, we'll go ahead and grab the defense boost for Abby. The one that further layers additional defense upon nearby allies. And that's it. Level up complete. Sadly pretty underwhelming this time, but such is the nature of this hodgepodge advancement system. Let's push on. Close ranks! Do not let them get to the sarcophagus!
Time to strike back!
Oh my. I'm glad we just stood here and watched that happen. That does seem to be a recurring trend. The Navigator's Throne. The handles are extremely worn, with visible marks left by nails. Evidence of the terrifying hours spent locked in battle with the power of the warp. Right, and of course we saw that guy use the warp gaze ability, so that's clearly our oh, right, it says it right above his head. The leader of the ravaged ship's crew wipes the sweat from his brow in a motion characteristic of navigators, not with his whole hand, but with 2 fingers moving from left to right and back, so as not to touch his third eye by accident. This movement is the only sign of fatigue he allows himself. His posture is immaculate, shoulders wide, eyes front, as if he did not just emerge from a grueling battle, and is simply greeting you on the bridge on an uneventful day. My greetings, your lordship. There is no need for introductions. I know the heirs of the von Valancius line by sight. I am Hann of House Cassini, the navigator on this vessel, and, as the senior surviving officer, I assumed command after the incident. Lady Navigator, what an unexpected and pleasant meeting, considering the circumstances. Hann decorously dips his head to Cassia. I have not had the honor of being personally acquainted with you, but of course I know the emblem of House Orselio. How fares the Honorable Regent? Cassia Orselio. She offers a reserved nod. Cordiality will not disguise the ice-blue coldness of your words, Navigator Hann. However, I will tell Regent Taranto that you inquired after his health. You may pass on my best wishes to Novator Cassini. And now let's set the pleasantries aside. I'm sure the rogue trader would like to ask you a few questions. As Hann speaks, others glare at you with dour tension. Up close, you can plainly see that every one of them is a mutant. Their faces and bodies bear the mark of incredibly grotesque deformities, the same as the muttering madmen who attacked you. However, Hann's associates seem perfectly clear-eyed, showing no signs of madness. Navigator Hann, report. This ship is assigned to the port of Dargonis. Some time ago, the captain was instructed to deliver a package. Urgently, by hand. To you, your lordship. We were even shown a pict of your face. The navigator's voice seems calm, yet there is tension in his eyes, which are trained on you. The disaster struck during the warp jump. I will never know all the details, as I was preoccupied with my primary duties. But for some reason, the captain decided to open the package. That, as you may have noticed, had a most destructive impact on the crew. Hann frowns. The package contained a chaos artifact. A chaos bomb, if you will. The moment it was removed from its protective cocoon, the crew began to lose their minds and mutate. The first to be afflicted was the captain and the senior officers, but the effect spread with incredible speed. Every deck was consumed by it, every last one. The raging mutants, no longer sane, damaged many systems. The ship was in distress, and would have almost certainly been destroyed had I not resorted to making an emergency exit from the warp. The people you see here are the only survivors, or rather, the only ones who were able to retain both their lives and their sanity. I gathered everyone I could, isolated the source of danger, and sent out a distress signal. We were adrift, waiting for help to come, and fighting off mad crew members. Then, you arrived. So this artifact, this bomb, you're saying it was meant for me? On whose orders? As far as I'm aware, the order came from Conrad Voigtveer, the Master of Whispers in the Rogue Trader's retinue. It is likely that he arranged the delivery, either personally or through intermediaries. Yeah, that certainly tracks. Abelard's face turns a deep puce. That blasted traitor beat us to Dargonis and is now free to act with impunity. It would not surprise me to find out that this was the work of sorcery. How else could he have reached the world in such a short time? Hann pauses, then adds bluntly, almost brazenly. Your reaction suggests that you were not expecting a package of this sort. That is good to know. I had almost convinced myself that the rogue trader was deliberately collecting chaos artifacts. That is quite a bold accusation, Navigator Hann. I can assure you, I do not deliberately collect chaos artifacts, though they do seem to have a knack for finding their way to me. Voigtveer's the responsible party here. He's a traitor to the Protectorate. He gives you a searching look, then bows his head. I beg your pardon, your lordship. I saw the terrible death of the entire crew with my own eyes. I was forced to bring the ship out of the warp by means of an emergency maneuver, and then I had to fight my former comrades, insane and twisted. I am tired. However, the sender wanted all of this. Han makes a sweeping gesture at the destruction and the corpses of crew members around him. To happen to your ship, not ours. Yeah, I imagine so. How are you holding up, Han? You seem lucid enough? Well, that depends. I was born a mutant, you see. Han smiles grimly and wearily. Navigators are taught to resist the influence of chaos, and so I have been, as best I could. But I will be frank with you. I cannot be certain that I have avoided it completely. There have been no visible indications. Yet. Han does not appear to be lying. It is impossible to gauge the extent of the artifact's influence on him. I'm sure it's fine. He seems a trustworthy sort. Tell me, Han, where's this artifact now? It might be an important clue. The tension in his posture and gaze becomes even more noticeable. I have placed it inside a protective sarcophagus, more reliable than the previous repository. Unfortunately, an artifact as powerful as this one could not be destroyed under these circumstances. Or rather, I had no assurance it would not disintegrate every one of us and scatter us across several light hours of neighboring space. But once we are off the ship, I will absolutely find a way to destroy this vile thing. Okay, well, back in Alpha, I definitely recall we did destroy it. And we passed the same check here as well. Right, because Retcon von Valancius was a soldier and an expert in demolitions. But I do hate to retread. So, although it is obviously a terrible idea, I think we'll try to get our hands on this thing so we can get a closer look at it. Though, we'll have to talk Navigator Han down first. Poor guy's already been through enough. I don't want to kill him in the process, so we'll see if we can placate him, get him on board the ship. Then we'll see about investigating this mysterious artifact. Which again, I'm absolutely sure is a terrible idea, but, Valen is an inquisitive sort. No need to trouble yourself, Han. I'll have my people take care of it. Let's just worry about you. Han gives you a scrutinizing look, then nods. I will have to take you at your word, as I have no other choice. But what will become of me? And of the remaining crew? What, you mean all one of them? The guy with the chainsaw there? You know what? I think we can probably make room for you on the ship. I mean, granted, there is some risk in taking aboard people who are exposed to chaos, but I feel like Valen would be willing to take the chance here. I'm sure that won't come back to bite us. You're with me. Thank you. Han salutes you before adding. Lord Captain. And speaking of things coming back to bite us... wait, can we not... Really?
Rise to the top or get left in the dust.
Expeditionary footwear. Whenever the wearer uses a navigator power, they gain plus 15% dodge until the end of the round. Stacks. Okay, that's actually not bad. Considering that we've generally got Cassie rocking 3 to 4 navigator powers per round. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and swap that out. I feel like we'll get more consistent use out of the fairly massive dodge buff than we will from the very situational movement buff our current boots grant. Though those are obviously not our chaos artifact. I've got to say, I'm a little disappointed. it feels very strange that we could talk Hann down, but not then kind of go back on our word and investigate the artifact once he's clear. Maybe something will trigger once we leave the ship.
I always keep my options open.
Yeah, let's pop out, see what happens. Wow. Yeah, okay. I've got to say that is kind of disappointing. That's a rare case of it feeling like we didn't really have much impact on a situation. I guess I should have been blunter and just straight up told him I wanted to investigate the artifact. Oh well, I mean, not a great loss, I suppose, considering that, as I said before, it was almost certainly going to be a terrible decision regardless. That said, we're done here in Pulvis Platinum, so I guess... You know what? We don't know if the whole Grantis situation is timed. So yeah, I think we'll go ahead and set our sights on that. We'll get the Grantis situation resolved, and then once things feel more stable, then we'll reorient towards Gamma. Get that whole thing going. I just don't want to be halfway across the system if and when that distress call sounds. Hey, nice. Event queued for Viabo 6. Let's see what we got. Lord Captain, the Astropathic Choir have caught glimpses of horrifying visions coming from Viabo 6. Something has breached the colony. From underground. Soon after a new section of deep tunnels had been put into operation, it was overrun by monsters. They lurk in the darkness, swarm in the shadows, attack quietly and leave nothing in their wake, consuming flesh, plasteel, and rockcrete. The churring of 1,000 claws heralds their approach, and desperate cries can be heard in the silence of the tunnels. Praise be to the Golden Throne, these creatures do not seem to be interested in getting to the surface. However, they have seized several active mines, and are doing Emperor only knows what. That's Necron scarabs. Yeah, that makes sense. Those are essentially the things that harvest or strip entire planets and use the materials to build and maintain Necron structures. I don't understand. What could these things be? It is truly a mystery. None who have faced them have survived to tell the tale. The frightened workers called them a swarm because they crawl along the tunnel like a wave. They say that the enemies are vast in numbers and are insect-like. One of the workers who was lucky to survive the attack has since come up to the surface. The horror drove him mad. But he held a wrench covered with strange engravings. The pattern was exactly the same as the one that the mad convicts had been etching into the walls. So what, it was Schrodinger's survivors? They both survived and didn't simultaneously?
The threat is unknown. Establishing the nature of the threat is the top priority. Collateral losses are insignificant. Requesting authorization to coordinate an offensive operation to be carried out by penal battalions in order to determine the nature of the attack.
Oh, that's rough. On the one hand, Valen would definitely want to do more research into whatever these things are. Whatever, quote unquote. I don't know if he'd use prisoners to do it, though. We have to block off this threat and protect the people. To do this, we must blow up the tunnels. But to make sure that the plan works, it has to be done in zones currently occupied by this unknown enemy. I am sure that 12 brave men can be found in the colony. Ones willing to accept the grace of martyrdom and descend into the darkness with the explosives. Oh wow, just 2 options? Okay. And I mean, the needs of the many do outweigh the needs of the few, but at the same time, it feels like literally burying the threat is really just asking for it to pop up again later. It doesn't really deal with the issue we're facing so much as simply delay it. Interesting, they now also present us with both the advisor options and the non-advisor options, though the advisor options are generally just the same thing, but slightly better. And honestly, looking at what they're presenting us with, I feel like Pascal's option is our best bet.
May our tactical analysis be graced by optimality.
The ruthless plan of Magos Hanuman had been constructed with the utmost logical perfection, taking its efficiency and losses into account. The smaller groups were sacrificed in order to preserve the forces of the larger ones. Unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, etc. Though I suppose it's kind of moot if it didn't actually work. The Viabo 6 defense squads met some swarm in the darkness. The monstrous insects, clad in metal carapaces, tore apart everything with their mandibles. The carnage inside the narrow caves cost many lives. But in the end, the creatures were exterminated, and their vile lair, not unlike a metallic crypt, has been ransacked, and its treasures removed. Ooh, and Test of Wills, you know what? That actually dovetails pretty nicely from the event we just ran. We'll assume the survivors of the defense are the first people to get paroled. The ones who get cut loose and given a chance to live on the surface, away from the actual forced labor. I mean, obviously not a perfect solution, but again, probably the closest you're going to get to legitimate parole in the Warhammer 40k universe. All right, let's go ahead and get our new extractiums going. Hopefully they should be ready just in time for us to delve into some new sectors. Also, I'm fairly certain that Rep will bump us up to max with Explorators, at least for Act 3. I'm fairly certain the cap rises once we get into the latter half of the game. This item negates all energy damage dealt to the wearer, but it cannot occur more than 3 times per combat. Interesting. Let's have a quick peek at what we've currently got equipped. Brinkwalker pendant, maybe. Bead of concentration. Oh, first aid manual. You know, that was always intended to be a placeholder. Yeah, I think we'll pull the first aid manual. Abby was never going to be our primary Medicaid character. That was just for the early game, back before we had better options. Plus, you know, he is obviously our tank. Alright, not bad. Let's hope that's the last of our Necron problems, though I sincerely doubt it. Let's push one more sector. I think we've got time for that. The engine deck were transformed into exotic gardens. Several chambers sprouted foliage vaguely resembling the plants on Terra, although they exhibited a glass-like surface, polished to a mirror sheen. While reflections in the plants perfectly copied the surrounding objects, they did not show a single living being. Those who peered into them saw grotesque, blood-covered creatures instead, not unlike bloated abyssal fish with a pair of clawed limbs, sometimes more. Unable to destroy the sinister growth, the Voidsman covered it with plasteel hoods until leaving the Immaterium, finally ridding the vessel of the corruption. Ooh, spooky, spooky. Don't think I ever saw that one before. I mean, obviously just atmospheric fluff, but still pretty cool. Wow, look at that. That was quick. Perfect timing, though, because, yeah, that's 5 new Extractiums plus the one we had in stock just before we're headed back into uncharted territory. And you know what? I think we'll hold off on that one, aside from just being kind of cruel. I also just really don't think it's worth the trade-off, 1 mechanism for 3 plasteel. That's a rare good for 3 common. Oh, but look at that. Our recent influx of populace means we can now theoretically complete all 4 of these trade projects. The question, I suppose, being, are they things we would actually be willing to do? I mean, 7 people for 5 food, I'm going to say probably not. Though this one I might be able to justify. If we assume that we're only handing off the most irredeemable of our populace, the actual criminals and would-be rivals, and I don't know, I'll have to give that some thought. I mean, obviously we do want more profit factor. You know what? This feels like a good place to call it anyway. I need to swing by Dan Rock, drop off our latest batch of goods, bank some more reputation. No point in compromising our morals if it won't actually accomplish anything. That said, yeah, we'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take care of all that bookkeeping. And we will pick up here next time, as it's back to Winterscale's realm, into the cradle of Khepri. I'm sure Koligos won't mind. He does seem to take his territory for granted. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, CrowkingLoR, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
My whispers crave entertainment.